welcome back to Send Better Emails, the best email marketing podcast, e-commerce email marketing podcast in central Norwich. We have Josh Fletcher with us today, a special episode, special guest, vying for the accolade of most handsome guest on Send Better Emails. But we've had some contenders, so I can't give out the award just yet, Josh, but good to have you here, mate.
No, thanks for having us. And I mean, even just to be in the mix for that accolade is great. But no, glad to be a big fan of the pod. So glad to be on.
Big fan of the pod. Okay, that's two people. I think someone else recently said they were a fan of the pod, so that's at least two.
Shit, we found one.
We found one.
Josh
doesn't actually know anything about e-commerce. He's just a fan, and we had to get him on.
Yeah, Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Nice. Okay, so Josh is from an agency which is going through a rebrand at the moment, and its new name is. Are we allowed to say what the new name is? Is it?
Yeah, absolutely.
The new name is Lifeblood.
Correct.
Nice. Yeah. And I'm just gonna intro the agency for you, Josh, because I can definitely do a better job at introing than you can, right?
Yeah. Fire away.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So Lifeblood are no. Let's let you do it because otherwise I'll hash it. Intro the agency.
Sure, yeah. So we previously known as Target, now it will soon to be known as Lifeblood. We are a creative-led growth consultancy for D2C and subscription brands. We typically work sort of mid-market. It's anywhere between sort of like 3 and 30 million. So anything from sort of early stage to scale-ups. And that's us. We're based down in Cornwall, but a few of us now based remote. So myself just outside of London. We've got one in Manchester too. So spreading our wings slightly.
Nice. Word for word, that was pretty much what I was going to say anyway. So I could have done it, but
we're in sync.
Nice. Is this a new earring I'm seeing?
Well, yeah, it is. Yeah. I've gone full like pirate mode with it. It's had mixed feedback. I'll be completely honest. Some people not a fan, others saying it looks okay. So I'm pretty happy that I'm just going to roll.
Okay, where do we stand? What's the Send Better Email stance on this, James?
Don't pull any punches, by the way. I want 100% honest critique.
Look, we are different people, Jamie, so we don't need to have one unified response. I sort of wish that I'd had a chance to think about this so we could put together some sort of press release about it. But instinct is I like it. It kind of takes me back to those 90s boy bands. I think pirate was a very complimentary masculine way of framing your ear piercing, Josh. I would say that. I'd say it's more Boyzone than Jack Sparrow, but
what if I said pirating like Captain Pugwash? That would be like less like slightly less cool. Yeah.
Nice. Just give you a slightly George Michael look as well.
I've had
that's what I'm kind of saying.
I have had some George Michael energy from people. Happy with that.
Yeah. You should be. I love George Michael.
It's got some absolute bangers. Yeah.
Okay, let's do quick fire questions. So we do these for every guest. They're the same. I'm going to put in a surprise question. Me and James will take turns here. So question number 1, what is your favorite George Michael song?
Right. I'm going to have to pin my colors to the mast here. Is Club Tropicana by George Michael?
It's by Wham, but I'll allow it.
You allowing it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It's George Michael adjacent.
We'll take that. Okay, I'm going to have to throw it out there because my George Michael knowledge / his knowledge of his catalogue of tunes is pretty limited.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. You just follow him for his personal brand.
Yeah. I'm taking the words right on that. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad we've got that squared up. And apart from George Michael's autobiography, what is one book, Josh, that you would recommend? It could be fiction or non-fiction.
So I'm going to go non-fiction. I love 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. All about how to basically focus on innovation to sort of within a niche market, creating a new product rather than adapting something that already works to achieve market domination is the wrong word, but to really grow as a brand, as a business. And I think there's a lot of learnings, whether you're in SaaS or e-commerce, that brands can take from Peter Thiel's approach there.
Nice. Okay. Well, that's going on my list. Thank you. We typically ask one linked influencer, but we have made a concession and said, or podcast here. So you can choose one.
I'm going to go with podcast. and I'm going to go with the e-commerce playbook by an agency in America called Common Thread Collective. They always have some really interesting high growth brands, and their agency, their proposition kind of aligns with ours. So there's some awesome, really interesting stuff there.
Okay, nice.
Okay. Nice to know that who the second best e-commerce podcast are, behind us.
I know you've got to keep tabs on the ones that are nipping at your heels, right?
That's it, exactly. Possibly the most important question of the entire podcast, Josh. What is your what newsletter would you recommend?
Well, I mean, yours is obviously top of the list, guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually go with yours because I do subscribe and it is great. There's a lot of value in that.
Okay, all right.
We'll take it.
Oh yeah, we'll take it. A little sympathy vote. We'll take that. Okay, one person, alive or dead, to have dinner with, and the person, if they're dead, they would be alive for the dinner. Just as a heads up.
Okay, that's good to know. So we're not like front and back or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, I would say this might be controversial. Because he gets a bit of hate, but
God, what's he going to say?
No, it's not that. I find Elon really intriguing and interesting, and obviously he's built so many companies of significance, be it Tesla, SpaceX, etc. That I just think picking his brain would be wild. Yeah, it'd be so much fun. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Elon.
No, okay, cool. I think if I was going to ask him a question, if I was at dinner with him, if I could keep his attention for more than 10 seconds, I would probably ask what was the Twitter play? What, and try, and if assuming he could give me an honest answer, what was that about and what is the plan? But yeah.
Yeah. To be fair, sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say he has talked about that, Jamie.
Has he? Okay.
Yeah.
What's he said?
You wouldn't need to have dinner with him.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think he just points to the fact that now he, I don't know whether he still does, but he used to have a position in the White House. His voice is amplified. He's created Grok AI. All of these things sort of stem from Twitter. So I think he considers it a good kind of ROI.
Right. Okay. For him personally.
God, spoken like Elon. I'm sure that was not verbatim, but yeah. It kind of looks it kind of looks like quite a smart move actually buying Twitter now in retrospect. Even though it seemed mad at the start, I think he probably has done pretty well from it.
44 billion as well. It was a hefty price tag, wasn't it? So it did seem pretty wild at the time, but yeah.
Yeah. Nice. James, it's your turn.
Oh yeah, thanks. Okay, Josh, one thing to ban from existence.
Something to send to room 101. Again, this might be controversial, but I'm going to throw, certainly for early stage brands, attribution out there, which is going to sound, I know it's wild, but I think my rationale behind that is particularly attribution tools that sort of sell themselves as a silver bullet solution, because attribution is never perfect, ever. And I think early stage brands can spend so much time arguing over what's right, what's wrong. Attribution windows is, things from last click to multi-touch. Is it triple whale, fast? You can spend so much time caught up on that hamster wheel. So I'm actually going to ban, to room 101, attribution for early stage brands.
Okay.
Forget war, famine, attribution, man. That's what keeps me off at night.
Yeah.
To be fair, we've had baked beans as an answer, so
I thought I was thinking of keeping it on brand, but lots of off-brand things I'd banish.
Okay. Biggest fuck up or situation you've had to pick yourself up from?
So in our first year of trading, we're going back 6 years now. I put all of our eggs into one basket with a group of brands. So we had 90% of our revenue came from this one brand, this one group of businesses. It was a significant chunk. Won't say who they are, but when their account went 60 days into arrears, they went out of business. It nearly knocked us over, I would say, in our first year of trading. So it was one of the biggest learnings I've ever had to go through in terms of diluting our risk across multiple clients and not putting all the eggs in one basket. Off the back of that, we created lots of processes, policies, tightened up our contracts, all those kinds of things. So that was really, really tough, to be honest. But the learnings off the back of it have made us such a better business. So that was probably the one thing I had to like pick myself up and dust myself off from, I'd say.
Yeah, bit of a baptism of fire, that,
Oh
especially
yeah.
in your first year as well. Crazy.
Yeah, a little bit of naivety from me perhaps, but yeah, like a like real learning, and something we've really improved off the back of, I'd say. So yeah, it was yeah, a good learning for us.
Nice. Let's go the other way. One favorite memory or one thing you're most proud of.
Ooh. So again, this isn't just us working with distressed businesses all the time, I promise. But we had another business that was losing money, significant sort of 8-figure turnover ecom, and again, over the course of a year, we came in and helped introduce something called cost caps. We identified what their highest margin and highest volume products were, along with tons and tons of great work in terms of becoming more efficient in house, in terms of their team, their warehouse pick and pack, negotiating better terms with suppliers. We managed to, between us, help generate a £1 million EBITDA improvement over the course of 12 months, which was really, really significant for that brand. And that was like all down to the team's hard work in terms of making, this is a brand that's spending, like 6 figures a month, high 6 figures paid media. Um, Making that spend work really, 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 really hard and making sure it was profitable as a non-negotiable, and all the great work they did in house. Like, so that turnaround for us was something that like the team was really proud of. I'm still really proud of to this day. So yeah, that was a great story for us and a great case study.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that.
Nice.
Nice. Okay. Quick fire round done. What we're going to do is jump into some questions around your expertise, which is around that kind of paid media, advertising, etc. for e-commerce brands. And so we've kind of got 4 questions here that we're going to jump through, and there might be some offshoots in there if we think something's particularly interesting. But the first one, Josh, is when we spoke before, you were talking about how you were talking about unit economics and brands understanding their finances before just chucking a load of money at ads, right? And so what is it that do you think is a blind spot? And what is it do you think brands need to really have a handle of before they just start launching into campaigns?
Sure. So you'll hear me talk around unit economics a lot, and I think and particularly early stage brands a lot, because we operate in that kind of 3 to 30 mil and that sort of space. I think one of the big mistakes you see with brands that have set themselves these ambitious targets is wanting to spend aggressively on paid to hit those. And that's sometimes before they have a real understanding. Sometimes before they even realize that whether they've got product market fit or not. And there's lots of signals you can look out for that. But also sometimes they may not have a true handle on the unit economics of the product and how that ties into paid. So just to kind of like drill down into what unit economics would mean in our view, obviously you have your average order value. For us, the unit economics of a product is after you strip out the likes of cost of goods sold, so your COGS, shipping, fulfillment, packaging, pick and pack, return rate if you're fashion. There's all of these costs that you need to strip out that actually will, at the end of it, give you an understanding of, even when you apply your profit target on top of that, what your target ROAS or target, say, CPA needs to be. That would be for like a one-time purchase scenario. If you're then a subscription model, you might have customers coming back and buying 2, 3, 4, 5 times as well. So if that's the case, when you've got your unit economics, the frequency at which a customer repeats in a subscription model, you might be prepared to then take like a break-even first purchase or even loss-making, knowing you're going to have the compounding effect of the repeat of your product, the repeat purchase. So it's really having an understanding of those customer behaviors and also the actual makeup of the cost of the product and how that ties into your either your ROAS target or your target CPA. Without that, it's impossible to really know what good looks like and what's going to work for the business. So there's something, in our opinion, that you need to model out before you even start thinking about scaling up paid spend. And it sounds obvious, but you'll be surprised how many brands are not doing that, at particularly early stage. So from our perspective, that's what it takes to run paid profitably in 2026 at least.
Nice. Josh, you've already sort of hinted at the answer to the question I was going to ask, which is about sort of the difference between how a subscription-based business might approach calculating that target CPA versus a brand selling a one-off product. So I'm going to slightly adapt my question a little bit.
Sure.
Sorry to put you on the spot, but I guess given that you're starting, you're working with relatively early stage businesses, one obstacle that these businesses might face is it can sometimes take quite a long time to calculate the lifetime value of a customer, right? Like, as you say, if you want to factor in repeat purchases, you might be selling a product that it's only really normal to buy every year or two. So how long do you give it before you can kind of draw a line in the sand and say, okay, this is probably the lifetime value of your customer once you've factored in refunds and repeat purchases, etc.? Like, how long should businesses be giving it before they can actually make that calculation?
Well, I think if you're let's say you're a startup, for example, you can make some assumptions. So by category, let's say like beauty, pet, for example. Like for pet or like a meal subscription box, it wouldn't be uncommon to assume that there might be a monthly recurring purchase that might last for 4, 5, 6 months before churn. And that data you can kind of pick up online and make some assumptions around. Obviously, it varies by brand depending on the strength of your proposition, your product, your welcome offer, etc. So that would be my starting place. And then I think I'll be looking at it over 12 months. So 12 months worth of data will give you a fair window for LTV. You might extend that for subscription, for some subscription brands that come to us that are 2, 3 years old, we'll look at 18 months, 24 months, just to try and understand what the LTV is there. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but that's kind of how I'm looking at it. I think some assumption it's fair to there is data out there by category, and that's a good place to start. But really, looking at 12 months worth of data is gives you a fair playing field, I'd say.
And is your sense that until you have that clear LTV, you shouldn't even start paid ads, or is the theory here start them but start small, experiment, build up the goodwill in your Meta account before you scale up and go aggressive?
Yeah, I think so. I would say with any early stage brand or startup, it's all about testing and starting, mitigating some risk by starting small, right? But then you start to build up those different cohorts of customers you've acquired in month 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can begin to see the retention play out over time. So providing that you are retaining customers in a way that is meets the business model, there's no reason you can't start scaling up spend early doors. But I think when you're taking, like you mentioned about like a more holistic view, I think 12 months worth of data is what you want. But yeah, I think there's no harm in looking at cohort analysis. And if you're retaining customers, like you say, from month 1, 2, 3, 4 through to 3, 4 months down the line, you've got scope to then begin really scaling up. So yeah, there's not like a clear cut answer there, but I think it's on a case by case basis.
Nice.
This is a question. Again, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here, Josh, but it kind of occurred to me through an answer that you gave a little bit earlier, was around product fit, and kind of making sure you have that before launching into spending loads of money on ads, right? How important is it? And have you seen brands? Because I saw someone say something recently, was like, if you don't have the right product, it makes marketing like so much harder to get a return on, if that makes sense. So in your view, like how vitally important is that product fit? How vitally important is it that you have a good product? And have you seen an instance where the difference between a good and bad product like materially changes how paid ads can perform?
Yes, definitely. So I think product market fit is a non-negotiable. So I think if you have a product and product market fit comes down to a few things, right? It's price. So like, is the price, are people willing to pay the price for that for the product you're offering? It's having enough clear blue water between you and competitors that the product has a unique selling point or a point of difference. Everything through to the way it's to like the delivery experience, unboxing, etc. So there are ways you can test for that. I mean, the things kind of we would look for when an early stage brand comes to us is their month on month revenue growth and order growth. Are there positive reviews coming back on Trustpilot or reviews.io, 4 or 5 stars? And really just getting to speak to customers. Is it something that, if we set up interviews with customers, is it something, a product that they're excited by? And things like jobs to be done frames. So is it solving a problem? Unless all those things are positive, I think you may not have product market fit. And the difference in terms of, tying it back to paid, unless you're able to, there's no point in scaling up ad spend and throwing more money at paid if you don't have those things. It becomes a bit of a leaky bucket. So I would go as far as to say it's the most important thing is making sure you've got product market fit and using those things we mentioned, month-on-month revenue growth, order growth, reviews, and speaking to customers to try and understand and make sure that you do have that. Becomes a very bit of an uphill battle otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Nice. Just because we're the podcast called Send Better Emails, so we have to talk about email marketing at some point, Josh. And if we look at how paid media and email marketing works together, like what does that relationship look like to you? How do they help each other? And do you see them both as vitally important in the mix?
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got acquisition and retention. If we look at subscription brands, for any brand, to be honest, vitally important. To answer your question on like kind of how they work together, I think the obvious thing is obviously setting up the small tactical things we can do with the likes of Klaviyo. So making sure that we've got existing customers excluded from our acquisition campaigns. We don't want to be marketing to people that are already like active subscribers, let's say. So that's one very, very basic tactical thing that needs to be happening. But I think more strategically, when you look at how Meta's working now with the Andromeda update and Gem, it's all very persona-led. Meta's great at going and finding people with certain needs, wants, desires on the platform. So you'll see a lot of brands now creating individual pieces of ad creative for certain personas. So we work with a pet food brand, for example. That pet food brand, we look at dogs with bad digestion, dogs that are overweight, irritable skin, etc. If you can then put them into a quiz as a landing page and try and understand which, their wants, needs for buying, that can kind of feed your email strategy as well in terms of making sure you're sending these customers and their, the ones that have certain needs for buying, relevant emails and adding value for their certain needs and problems that they have. It feels like a much more seamless customer journey and way more personalized. So for me, there's just two other things you can do between paid and email to make sure that customer journey feels really, really seamless and you're squeezing every pound from your paid budget.
Yeah, with that pet brand, you described overweight, bad digestion, itchy skin. You kind of just described me a little bit there, but you as well. Okay, fine, yeah.
Definitely your dog, Jamie.
Yeah,
I mean that's Olive's Tinder profile.
I mean,
right
I'm not gonna tell her that you said that she was overweight because that'll upset her. But and she listens to this.
She's one of our few listeners. To be fair, yeah. Sorry, it's silly to insult like 10% of our listenership. Just right there.
Yeah.
Okay, nice one. So you mentioned the Andromeda update, Josh. I wanted to ask you about that because we run ads, and back in the day, we're usually running ads for newsletters, so it's a slightly different thing to trying to promote a product. But back in the day, it was quite a manual process. Like it felt like we had to give quite a lot of input when it came to targeting, picking demographics, interests, lookalike audiences, all of that sort of stuff. And then this Andromeda update came out, and I'm very much a layman, but it seemed to me like Meta was essentially saying, "Okay, we're just going to let AI do everything now." And that may be super oversimplified, so do elaborate on that if you need to. But my question is, given that update and given this new power that AI has when it comes to finding your audience and, as you say, finding those personas, what is the role of the paid media agency in 2026? Like, how has it shifted because of that Andromeda update, and how is it affecting Target/Lifeblood now?
Yeah, it's definitely changed. So I guess just to touch on the sort of Andromeda update, Meta's most paid media channels, Google included, are becoming very AI driven. in terms of the optimization, in terms of where budgets are being spent, in terms of selecting the right ad for the right user demographic. So in terms of the manual optimizations that would have happened in ad accounts in years gone by, it's becoming there's less of a focus and need for that now, I would say, which does shift the role of the paid media agency for sure. I would say if you roll back 18 months, 22 years ago, the paid media agency was very tactical. They were in the ad accounts, optimizing, shifting budgets between channels, um, turning on and off ads that don't work. The role of the paid media agency now, in my opinion at least, is more strategic and consultative, and the spectrum is now much broader. So rather than operating in a silo with their head down in Google or Meta ads, the role of a good paid media agency is everything I talked about at the start in terms of working out unit economics, customer economics, helping to model lifetime value, putting together forecasts to help understand what good could look like if we spend X. It's then in the ad account more creative based, I would say. So the role of the agency is to map out those personas, put together scripts, even produce some of those ads perhaps, ideate tests, A/B tests, be that geo lift or a holdout test to try and unlock new opportunities for growth within the ad account. And then coming out of the ad account, looking at the results, it's trying to interpret what's happened and what's next. So helping to roadmap the next quarter. Are there any further tests we want to put together? What should we be looking at next as a brand? So that's how it's become more complex, in my opinion. There's a lot more responsibility for a good paid media agency, and it's more, again, the way we're positioning ourselves as a growth consultancy now rather than a paid media agency. So I think that scope and the responsibility has really changed. I prefer it personally because it means you can have more of an impact. And you can really roll your sleeves up and get your hands dirty with everything from strategy through to analytics and reporting, as well as the fun stuff in the ad account, I guess. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of how it's changed. It's quite significant.
Yeah, definitely. On that creative piece, and again, I'm totally putting you on the spot here. Let's say that you're a brand listening to this podcast, and you are still yet to calculate your customer LTV. You're still quite early days, perhaps. You want to start running meta ads, though, to get a feel for things, start to warm up your account a bit. See how it works for you. What are some kind of low bar creative ideas that you've seen that are working that, so if you don't want to hire like a big studio and create like super professional stuff that costs loads of money, I'm kind of asking this for selfish reasons as well. Because, we're often running ads on newsletters, sometimes our own, sometimes other clients. The budgets aren't always that huge. Is meta ads not possible for an account like that, or are there creative ideas that you can run with on a really low budget?
Yeah, so I'll sort of keep it within the realms of like D2C. There is a startup fitness brand that we work with, meal prep brand actually. And with them, again, like it's all about early stages testing. So for us, in terms of like creating something that is a lighter lift, but also is a sort of a gateway into sort of scaling up paid, we're starting with statics only to be able to test different audience messaging and personas. So we've broken there. Let's take that sort of meal prep company. The people that buy that product, for example, might be busy professionals who are on the go that don't have time to cook. It might be people that are training for high rocks, CrossFit, gym goers, busy parents. There's all kinds of reasons that people need meals on the go quickly. We've split them into, we've got an ad set per persona, and then some statics with different messaging for those personas in those ad sets. Now that allows us to try and understand like who is this product for, which sort of persona responds best to this, and within the persona, like which message lands like most appropriately or most effectively rather. That's like relatively low spend, and the cost to produce statics in the first place is relatively cheap, cost effective, rather of a better word. From there, you can begin to layer in video, carousels, etc. Once you've sort of understood which audience personas respond best and which messages are most effective, which angles. In my opinion, that's like a really easy way to get into meta ads, like keeping it really, really simple, really low cost. And then as soon as you start to see some green shoots, you can really begin to scale up and double down on what works. So yeah, hopefully.
Love that. That's super liberating. I think there's such a narrative at the moment, and again, just from a layman's perspective, that like if you're not doing video, there's no point. And I love that you know, here's an expert saying actually static is a great way of testing the water. Yeah, lovely. Thank you.
No worries.
Nice, Josh. We're at half an hour, unbelievably, but and so we try and wrap it up at around there. So if people want to get in touch with you, they can find you on LinkedIn, Josh Fletcher. You're going through the rebrand. So what website can they go to at the moment to find you?
Well, okay, yeah. So, yeah, you're right. LinkedIn, I'm fairly active on there. At the moment, we haven't quite launched the rebrand. So if you we're currently known as Target. But if you went to talktotarget.co.uk, you'd find us over there. But in a matter of just a couple of weeks, we'll be known as Lifeblood. So if this goes out in 2 weeks' time, wearelifeblood.com. Sorry to confuse the waters or muddy the waters there.
Okay, so Talk to Target or We Are Lifeblood.
Depending on when this launches, this podcast.
Yeah. Okay, nice, cool. Well, Josh, thank you very much for your insights, mate. Yeah, it's some super helpful stuff there. I know James is stealing some ideas as well. So thanks for coming on. Is there anything else you want to tell the world whilst we're here?
No, all good. I mean, I think I've taken up enough of your time so far today.
Nice.
Jamie, it's funny because we know Josh pretty well. We don't often talk shop when we see Josh. This is probably the longest conversation we've had about the stuff he's good at, and boy, he knows his stuff.
Yeah.
So
this was a gamble.
It was a gamble. Yeah, it's a big gamble.
It was, yeah. Normally it's over a beer and X-rated. So this is strictly professional on this occasion.
It's the only work related and the most sober conversation we've ever had. So yeah, Josh, thanks very much. Everyone, thanks for listening. This has been Send Better Emails.